What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over several tips that you're going to want to know in Fortnite's new Star Wars Galactic Battle season. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more, comment down below one tip that has helped you play better this season, and if you guys would like to use my creator code in the item shop, it is EvolveJake, just like my channel name is, and it is underneath the webcam at all time. The first big tip I have for a lot of you is going to be that the shield bubbles do not protect from the guns on the spaceship. So the new TIE Fighter and X-wing vehicles, as of right now, can just straight up shoot through shield bubbles. So if you're encountering these and thinking like, oh, I'll just put a bubble down and protect myself for a bit and then they'll have to get in close, that does not work. You're going to get fried out of your bubble. It's much better to just try to run from it using some form of mobility or vehicle rather than using shield bubbles. As I said, though, I don't know if this is intentional or not, or a bug. Maybe it'll be fixed, maybe it won't be fixed, but I thought that was definitely worth noting. These spaceships spawn in several pads around the map. There's several potential spawn locations for them, and then it's just up to that match, like RNG, whether or not a ship ends up spawning on the pad. And there's two different types of ships, the TIE Fighter and the X-wing. They both do the same amount of damage and have the same amount of HP, I believe. It's just that the TIE Fighters are in the Imperial locations and then the X-Wings are in the Rebel locations. It's just kind of like a faction difference within Star Wars. As I said, though, they have the same amount of HP and they are quite fragile with only 1,000 HP each, but they do regenerate HP after being disabled. So with Fortnite vehicles, you can shoot it, and then once you get the HP low enough, it disables the vehicle. And then it kind of crash lands and it'll stay there for a bit and then eventually start recharging its health. And each of these vehicles have 3 recharges or 3 lives essentially. And you can see how many recharges are remaining in the bottom left of the screen when flying. There's like the HP and then 3 bars. So if you disable someone's vehicle and then think you completely have it out of the game, unless you've seen it blow up, it could regenerate its health and end up being a problem for later on. And they do regenerate their HP rather quick, but while it is in its kind of recharging state, it can't be like occupied or used by anybody in game. You can also fish fishing holes with these spaceships, which is kind of surprising. So if you just shoot at the fishing spots, you're able to get floppers, small fry, and even shield fish. So if you are, you know, desperate for heals, that is a way to get them. Or, you know, maybe there's a ship in a nearby area and a lake, you can get a lot of heals that way. It's really good in squads because if you are able to fish several different spots all at once, like you can get a lot of HP for everybody on your team, right? Also, when it comes to the lightsabers this season, there is a lot to know. So the way that you get the lightsabers is you need to speak to an NPC and you will get Jedi training, and then you will also get a lightsaber. The Jedi training will give you the Force abilities and improved movement aspects when holding the lightsaber out. You can take a lightsaber from an eliminated enemy and use it, but if you pick up a lightsaber this way without getting any training, you won't have access to the improved sprint, the flip jump, or force abilities that you will get from the training. So it is much better if you get the training than if you just get a lightsaber from eliminating somebody. And that improved flip jump will actually make you immune to fall damage until you land. So it is quite helpful. Fall damage isn't as much of a factor this season, but it is still something that can be helpful for you. The Jedis to train you spawn in several different storm phases throughout the game. I'm not sure if it's every storm phase, but from my experience, at the start of a storm, there will be new Jedis, or the start of a new zone. There will be several Jedis that spawn across the map, and you will see an indicator on the for them on the map if you are within 600 meters of them. So if you're across the map from a Jedi, you won't see the training area. But if you're close enough to it, like 600 meters is pretty forgiving, I would say. If you're close enough, you can find it. And if you are struggling to get any Jedi training or anything like that, I would just recommend driving around in a car and kind of covering as much of the map as you can. And you should be able to find them because there's several on the map. When you speak to the Jedi, you go into an animation and enter a portal, and then you come out of the portal, and then that's when you have the lightsaber and Jedi training. While you are in this animation, you don't have control over your character, and for that brief time, you are also immune to damage. And this is worth noting if you want to get the lightsaber, but it's also worth noting if you're going to, you know, camp the exit on somebody. I'll have a clip on screen here where someone tried to do that to me, and they were shooting at me before I was even able to take damage. And wasn't the biggest deal because I already knew they were here, but if I was going to get caught off guard by this person, them giving their position away before they were even able to damage me. It's definitely a problem. And then also, you know, you're increasing your bloom, you're increasing your weapon's charge, and maybe it overheats. There's just no point in shooting at people while they're invincible. So while somebody is in that animation, just know that they are immune to damage. And if this is something that was causing you concern, you can kind of rest easy knowing that for that limited time, you can't actually be damaged. The force push ability throws enemies away from you, and this can actually destroy structures. You can hit people from within buildings with it, which is kind of surprising. If you know somebody's camping in a building, you can just destroy part of that building with the push. You can also knock people off of like mountains or buildings, but you don't cause fall damage in the same way that like the Typhoon Blade did or the Bat did. So I know before this season, a lot of people were stressing that and saying that this is just going to be more fall damage deaths. The force push doesn't actually cause fall damage. It can knock you into the storm though, which can be pretty problematic end game. And this is definitely something that a lot of people are going to be going for, is just kind of like cheesing people into storms. So making sure you have some sort of mobility in that end game definitely help you in those situations. The other Jedi ability we have at the moment is going to be Force Lightning. And this does damage just over time. It's a pretty simple item. But it can also disable cars and spaceships similar to how EMP grenades do. So if you have the Sith Jedi training and, you know, someone's trying to run away from you in a car, you can't just disable it with the Force Lightning and make it to where they actually have to somewhat bite you. As far as the melee aspect of these lightsabers goes, I think it's much less effective than the recent melee weapons we have had. When you compare this to the Bat or the Typhoon Blade, I think the lightsabers are much easier to play against. So if you are someone that's just going for those melee kills oftentimes, and you're used to those better melee weapons, I think you're going to be losing a lot of fights this season just relying on that. And I wouldn't recommend trying to rely on it in the same way that people did with like the Bat or the Typhoon Blade. The weapons this season are all blasters, and they are hit scan aside from the new sniper DMR weapon. I think it's the IQA or something, but it's the sniper, the DMR. This one is actually projectile, so you will have to worry about bullet drop and you will have to worry about leading your target if you're far away. But every other weapon seems to be hit scan. Fortnite themselves said the DC-15 was also projectile with this DMR sniper, but several people on my video yesterday told me it's not projectile and it's hit scan. I don't really like the weapon. I haven't used it much, but for some reason, Fortnite, you know, was just giving out false info, apparently. Either way, a majority of the blasters are hit scan. So if this is something that has confused you because the tracers of the weapon seem to have travel time, it's not really something you have to worry about. That's just a visual. The only one you have to really worry about leading your shots with is the DMR, and then likely the Mandalorian sniper when that ends up coming in the Mandalorian update later on this season. There are these new llama hiding spots that you can get in to actually heal your white health when you hide in them. You just interact with it like how you would the dumpsters or the porta potties, and then you go in there and you can heal your white health. It doesn't heal any shield, but if you are, you know, maybe you just came out of storm or you're in a situation where you don't have whites, these llamas can be a spot to heal you, and they do heal rather quick at 2 HP a tick, so it's not like you have to be in there for an eternity. You can still purchase teammates reboot cards at reboot vans, and you can pay gold while being rebooted to get that upgraded loadout. So this is a somewhat controversial change from last season, and people weren't really sure if it would stay or go because it kind of seemed to be tied into the outlaw, you know, gold heist theme. The pay for reboot cards is still a feature this season, and so you probably either love or hate that depending on how you feel about it. Lots of players this season have been struggling to find enough heals for whatever reason. I don't really know why this is the case, but it does feel like there's less heals to go around now. But there still are several vending machines around the map that sell big pots. And then the radio tower guards that spawn during second zone still will drop chug jugs. So if you've been struggling to get heals, you might want to have more of a priority on getting those radio towers. Or, you know, if you're at a state in a game where you're somewhat later into the match, but you don't have heals for whatever reason, if those tower guards are still there, that can be an easy way for you to get a chug jug. And then Shogun X still should also drop a chug jug, but it's much less convenient to eliminate him than it is like the radio tower guards. Those go down really quick. Another way to get heals is going to be the new Stormtrooper outposts. These are placed like all over the map, basically on the roads. And there's the Stormtrooper and Clone Trooper outposts. Both of these have a little bit of loot, but what the main thing for heals is going to be that there's several slurp barrels at these. So if you're needing heals at any point in the game and one of these is nearby, you can maybe take advantage of those barrels and conserve your actual shield items from your inventory. And if you eliminate these stormtroopers, they will drop blue weapons, which isn't the greatest rarity, but could help you out if you're in a tight spot, or if you just enjoy either of these weapons. The stormtroopers seem to drop blue E11s, and then the clone troopers seem to drop blue DC-15s. So if you really enjoy either of those weapons, being able to go to those, you know, super easily and get a blue version is definitely nice. If there was like a blue F11 guaranteed from there, I would definitely be hitting those up every game because I enjoy the F11. Another thing that could help you out in a tight spot if you're desperate for loot is going to be that there's a few new hidden loot rooms. There's one outside brutal boxcars that you can enter by hot wiring an AT cannon, and it'll shoot the mountain and open it up for you. And then there is also near the waterfall at Canyon Crossing, there's a new small loot room that you have to get into by breaking some rocks covering the entrance. But in here you have several chests and slurp barrels as well. So I don't know if either of these would really be something I want to land on, but if you're in the area and you need loot, especially in game when everything's been picked through, if these loot rooms haven't been opened yet, that could be a nice way for you to get loot. Or if you've just been rebooted near either of these areas, having that little hidden loot is less likely to be looted than all the other stuff. At the start of the season, there were no shockwaves in the loot pool, but Fortnite unvaulted shockwaves after a few hours. However, for some reason, as of the time I'm recording this video, you do not get shockwaves from giving an air sprite to the shrine. For all of Chapter 6, if you brought an air sprite to the shrine and turned it in, you would get 4 shockwaves for doing this. And this made it a consistent, easy way to get that mobility item. For whatever reason now, that isn't working. I don't know if this is intentional and it will be fixed later on, or if this is permanent. It's, you know, hard to say with Fortnite sometimes. But just be, you know, warned, if you're doing that, you're kind of wasting your time, because as of now, they don't give shockwaves. Hopefully it gets fixed sometime soon. That would make getting shockwaves much easier. And then the final thing we're going to talk about is going to be that you can get the Mythic DMR sniper rifle if you trade General Grievous a lightsaber. From my understanding, it has to be a blue Jedi one. I haven't tried it with the Sith one, but I know for a fact it doesn't work with Darth Vader's, and I have seen other people say it has to be a Jedi lightsaber. But if you find a Jedi lightsaber and bring it to General Grievous, he is at the black market outside Mask Meadows. He will give you the mythic version of this DMR, and this weapon on its own is incredible. Obviously, the mythic one is going to be even better. So anytime I find a Jedi lightsaber in that area, I'm definitely going to be bringing it to him. That way I can get this mythic. That is going to be it for this video. As always, if you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.